You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
Thursday Night Football is on, and it's only on Prime Video.
Is that possible?
This week, one of the NFL's best rivalries takes center stage as the San Francisco 49ers face the Seattle Seahawks.
What a great job.
Coverage begins with TNF tonight. Not a Prime member? Sign up for a 30-day free trial to stream the game. It's the 49ers and Seahawks, Thursday, only on Prime Video. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
It's time to get inside the Giants Huddle.
Let's go, let's go, let's go!
On Giants.com.
I like it.
And the Giants mobile app.
Boom, give me some juice.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's roll!
Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle Podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. I am John Schmeelk, getting ready for the Giants and Seahawks. Busy show today. We're going to have Dave Softy Mahler, who covers the Seahawks out there in Seattle. He'll update on us all the Seahawks injuries. Bob Papa will be with the head coach of the Giants, Brian Daboll. But first, we're going to lead off with my conversation with Giants wide receiver Darius Slayton. All right, now we're joined by Giants wide receiver Darius Slayton. I want to start broadly. How would you characterize your team's passing game in the first 4 weeks of the year?
I think we've been efficient, done a good job of moving the ball successfully and, like I said, efficiently. But, obviously we'd like to have a couple more explosives.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about the explosives. But first, I do want to talk about the efficiency of the quick pass game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Daniel's really getting the ball out. You guys are in rhythm in that short to medium range pass game. Is this as sharp as you guys have been in a while in terms of having your timing straight?
Yeah, I think it just comes with familiarity. Wandale going into his third year. I'm 6 years in with DJ. Jalen's going into his second year with him. So a lot of guys that are familiar, on the same page. And obviously Malik's, getting up to speed. He got up to speed fast, as everybody's seen. So, that helps a lot.
And I think the play of the offensive line helps too, right?
Of course.
That protection, how does that impact the wide receiver group and how you're working with Daniel?
Tremendously. I think it gives everybody faith. I think our front has played a really good ball. These first 4 weeks, they've played a really good ball. And from a receiver standpoint, it's tied together. So if you feel like you have time, allows you to be a little more creative in your route running and know that, the quarterback's going to have time to get you the ball, so it doesn't feel like a rush. And vice versa, for us, you also know that obviously, they can't block all day. So, you still want to, make their lives easy and get open fast as possible.
I know during the game you can't see this because you're running your routes, you're not looking in the backfield. But when you look back and you watch the tape afterwards, how much different does Daniel look given the improved circumstances around him up front, just his comfort level?
Yeah, I think he's done a good job of settling in. Obviously it's not easy coming off a major injury like he did. Hadn't played football in a long time. Obviously did camp and all that, but it's not the same as live hits, live bullets, So I think he's done a good job of settling in these first couple of weeks. And, I expect us to continue to perform at a high level, but also perform, better and get some of these wins. You
mentioned the explosives and hitting more of those deep balls.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have had opportunities. I think you've thrown a lot more of them than you did last year, and I think probably a lot of that is because of the protection has allowed you to throw more of them, right?
Sure.
So when you're working on that stuff, well, let me start with the basic question first. When you look at those deep balls, first 3 weeks, a lot of overthrows. Last week was some underthrows.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a commonality between all the plays, or are these just each individual player is its own individual story?
Yeah, each individual plays its own story, and I think that overthrows are better than underthrows sometimes because you never want to get to a place where you're trying to just like aim and just get it out there. The reality of a deep ball is sometimes like receivers get paid. We all go to the combine. And everybody runs 4.2, 4.3. Everybody's super fast. Well, if that's the case, like we got to run some of them down, And you want to be in an aggressive mindset because those are the ones you score on. Obviously, you get the nice moss plays and all that stuff on the underthrown balls, and I guess you could say there's some, merit to that of like, well, just get it over there and then we'll make a play and that's cool. But at the end of the day, we want to score, so you want to have an aggressive mindset, and that's pushing it down the field and letting us run up under the ball.
It's funny, I was talking to Carl Banks about this on one of our other podcasts, and He talked about it like you're shooting 3-pointers, right? And everything is back rim, back rim, back rim. And then all of a sudden you start short arming it, right? And then everything's short, front rim. And then you start thinking. So you'd rather just keep shooting naturally, and eventually you're going to find that range instead of maybe short arming some things.
Exactly. I mean, DJ's whole career he's been a good deep ball thrower.
Sure.
So it's not a matter of skill or lack of ability. It's just, like I said, each player's own individual play has its own reasons why we might have missed this one or that one, but just got to keep shooting.
And, I think you made a great point when you talked to the media earlier in the week. In fact, it's the reason I wanted to talk to you here. Mm-hmm. You made the point that these are low percentage plays in general, and you only get a handful if you're lucky in a game, sometimes only 1, 2, or 3.
Exactly.
You have to keep taking your shots, and if you get 3 or 4 in a row, then all of a sudden your percentage for the season looks a lot better, right?
Way better, yeah. But the reality is, you watch any football game, you maybe see 1 or 2 shots a game actually hit and get completed, So it's not, it's not going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, shots in a game, in the NFL at least.
And it's funny, fans call in and they talk about this stuff. And just one example, this was the play when Daniel rolled right and tried to throw deep to Neighbors across the field in the last game. Mm-hmm. I remember sitting at training camp. You guys called the exact same play, and he hit him.
Yep.
And it was maybe his best throw of camp. So we've seen this work in practice before. How does it work since the seasons began? Are you guys hitting these plays in practice when you're working on them?
Yeah, you got to work them. You got to work them and hit them for timing reasons. So, DJ gets a feel for, and everybody's different. Malik gets deeper than I get deep is different than Jalen gets deep.
Sure.
Just different people, different whatever. So, you try to hit them in practice, and then that's kind of, helps build the, muscle memory, so to speak, and then hopefully that manifests itself in the game.
And then just from the wide receiver perspective, has there been some frustration when you go back and see some of the opportunities you guys have had to make plays and in some of late in these games, Washington and then Dallas, where catches that could create a whole new set of downs and get a first down?
No, for sure. I mean, I think if in our room, I know for sure, obviously me being the vet in that room, I definitely, the NFL is the way it works. Everybody blames the quarterback if you do good, or if you do good, he gets all credit. If you do bad, he gets all the blame. But that's not the reality of it. There's definitely been at least 5 to 6 plays that in my room we could have made that would have won us or at least put us in a more advantageous scenario to win the game. So there's definitely plenty of accountability and blame to go around.
As of today, we're recording this on Thursday afternoon. Malik Neighbors has not practiced yet. We'll say things can change. But if he's not out there on the field, how has it gone in practice? Going back to where you guys were last year, right? You, Wandale, and Jalen working your 3 wide receiver sets.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, we're all pros, and Jalen's ready. I'm ready. Wandale's ready. Whoever else comes up, maybe Isaiah Hodgins might get an opportunity if it comes down to it. He's a professional. He's always ready. Obviously, we have Bryce, who's been a lot of a special teams role, but if it comes to it, he'll be ready. So, this is a National Football League. Obviously, you never want to see anybody go down or anybody out, especially not a special player as Malik. But if we do happen to be without him, guys will be ready to go. I
don't want to give away your game plan, but is that one guy going in his spot, or do you guys move in and out of that spot based on what the play is and what Brian might want in that particular play?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing kind of about the system is that it's the positions are what they are. So in theory, you could put anybody in any spot. And so that would the play itself wouldn't change, just literally the human being that is there would change.
You mentioned Jalen Hyatt, and I thought another great point you made on your conference call earlier in the week is that you've been in the situation Jalen Hyatt was in heading into this week, right? Where you feel like you're a good player, you feel like you should be playing, you feel like you're doing everything you can in practice, and through maybe no fault of your own, you're just not getting the opportunity.
For sure.
How has he dealt with that in meetings? Is he still locked in? How have those conversations gone with him? And as he now might have that opportunity he's been waiting for here in week 5?
For sure. He's definitely been locked in. He's been doing a good job of staying ready, practicing hard. If Jalen will be ready for his chance, and he's done a good job of staying locked in and being positive. And obviously, now the challenge is to go out there and seize it.
All right, I want to talk a couple questions about the Seahawks defense, and then I'll get you out of here. Mike McDonald's defense, one thing I looked at, you look at their coverage averages, what they play. They're like between 12th and 16th in every type of coverage. So it seems like he really likes to kind of switch things up to keep you guys on your toes in terms of what he's presenting in the secondary.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of variety to their defense, but, it kind of helps. They have good, talented players, that allow you to mix up looks and do those types of things. So, they do a good job, but obviously, we're studying them, and we'll try our best to get a beat on what they're trying to do and attack it.
You mentioned the talent. a feisty as hell corner in Witherspoon out there. He likes to tackle, maybe a little bit smaller compared to Reek Woolen, who's just a gigantic, rangy guy.
Yeah.
Talk about their kind of individual skill sets and how they're maybe a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty night and day. You know, Woolen is probably a true 6'4" out there. You know, long arms, super fast. Just takes up a lot of space, it feels like, you know, out there. But you know, the Witherspoon is a little bit of a smaller guy, but very quick, good feet, breaks well, very sticky in coverage. You know, he does a good job of staying on the hip. But, you know, like I said, we study those guys, and everybody has tendencies, everybody has weaknesses, and we'll try our best to exploit those.
And we'll see if he plays, but you might have a guy lurking back there at safety that you're a little familiar with. What is it going to be like potentially going up against Julian Love again?
Yeah, it'll be fun to see J Love out there, man. You know, obviously when we're between the lines, business is business, but it'll definitely be funny to first play to look up and see him back there.
Well, hopefully you're looking at him as you're running past him, right?
For
I think
sure.
that's the goal.
Hopefully I'm looking at, you know.
You're looking back at him, right?
Yeah.
How about Leonard Williams, too, a guy that was here for a long time?
Yeah, I think he was on the injury report or something.
He was, yep.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not he'll be up, but if he is up, you know, I'm going to double team the heck out of him and you know, blow him off the ball. But, you know, I love Leo. He's a good dude, a great team out while he was here. And, you know, obviously, like I said, between the lines handle business, but look forward to seeing him out there.
And then finally, we talk about the noise impacting the offensive line, the offensive tackle specifically, silent count, things like that.
Yeah.
How does the noise impact the wide receiver?
Not so much, except for when you're in the huddle. I mean, sometimes you get in the huddle and
you can't hear the play?
Hey, sometimes you get boxed out of that thing. Everybody's trying to lean in there and hear, and you're like, hey, let me get in here. But you know, that's just kind of part of it. But that's really the only time where, as a receiver, it really affects you, is trying to hear the play in the huddle. But other than that, you know, we're watching the ball.
And then final question, just big picture, man. Like, you were 1-3 this year heading into week 5. You're 1-3 this year heading into week 5. And the point I've made to a lot of our calls on our shows here is, for me, this 1-3 feels a lot different. Maybe that shouldn't matter, and the wins and losses and all that matters. But as a player, the way you've played and you've been close in these games, and you almost won 2 division games late, it was really close. Does this 1-3 to you feel different than the 1-3 you were in last year heading into week 5 in the same situation?
Yeah, I mean, you can't woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I mean, I think we walked away from both our division games and said, you know, we played good ball, just not quite good enough to win, and we're aware of that. But at the same time, there's a difference between, you know, not making a play or two here and coming up a little short, and just being, you know, going out there and
getting whooped.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just not even competitive. So, you know, it's definitely we definitely know we're close, but we know we got to do a little bit more to close these games out.
Well, hopefully we'll do it this week at Seattle. Darius, thanks for the time.
Yeah, of course.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New you moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
The Giants Huddle podcast is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From game day celebrations to your everyday financial needs, Big Blue fans can get the most out of every moment with Citizens. Learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants. Good stuff from Darius there. Always fun talking to the Giants veteran wide receiver. All right, now let's turn our attention to the opponent this week, the Seattle Seahawks. Our very own Paul Dottino had a chance to talk to Dave Softy Mahler. He hosts every day on 93.3 KJR-FM out there in Seattle from 3 to 7 p.m. Covers the Seahawks extensively. Here's Dave on what's going on with the Seahawks, specifically all their injuries and who might be active this week, and if certain players are out, who might step in for them.
Time for the opponent's preview as the Giants take on the Seahawks in Seattle. Softy Mahler from KJR joins us, and the Seahawks gave up a 40 spot to Detroit last week. A badly battered defense, which may or may not be healing up, Softy. How worried do you think the Seahawks are about this?
Well, I got to be honest with you, Paul. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck here, but if they were playing Kansas City, if they were playing the Buffalo Bills, if they were playing the 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But if there's ever a week to have a banged-up defense, it's this week. Going up against that giant offense and Danny Dimes and maybe no Malik Neighbors and coming to the to Lumen Field on Sunday. And again, you know, I get it, any given Sunday, blah, 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 all that stuff. But this Seahawks defense badly needs a break. You know, Monday night they were totally banged up, and it was a horrible time to do it because they're facing Jared Goff, for God's sakes, and that great Lion offense in Detroit. But, you know, Boye Mafe, their best pass rusher, didn't play. Byron Murphy, number 1 draft pick, did not play. Leonard Williams, the former Giant. Julian Love, the former Giant, banged up during the game. Who knows where the status is going to be for this game? Chenan Nwosu, their outside linebacker who hasn't played all year long, still not available. Who knows if he's going to play in this game? So, yes, I mean, it got to a point on Monday night, Paul, actually, where it got kind of ridiculous how many guys they had out.
All right, Softy, let me ask you this, because I'm not going to ask you to get out the crystal ball. You just don't know who's going to be healthy enough to go. But if I said to you, of that list of guys, who are maybe the 2 or 3 most important guys that they would need to feel really good about the unit? Which ones would they be and why?
Well, this is a Giant offense that gave up a lot of sacks a year ago, correct, with Daniel Jones at quarterback. And the best pass rusher they have is Boye Mafe. So I would say number one, it's Boye Mafe. Getting him back on the edge is gigantic. And then obviously Julian Love at safety. Look, before Mike McDonald coached a game in a regular season, for the Seahawks, they gave Julian Love a 3-year extension. So they knew during camp how important he was going to be and how vital he was to what they wanted to do in their secondary. So I would say those 2 guys you got to get back. And then, look, I mean, Len Williams and Byron Murphy on the defensive line. On the interior, obviously, they don't have much there without those guys. But if I had to pick 2, I'd say Love and Mafe are number 1 and number 2 for me.
All right, so now let's take the other side of this. Let's assume that none of these guys come back. And you're talking about basically the same defense that played against Detroit and allowed Goff to go 18 for 18. Can they within a week fix that pass defense, or are you more concerned about what the Giants might do in the run game with Singletary?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I'd just be concerned about just backup players getting taken advantage of by veterans. I mean, Neighbors sounds like he's not going to play. Singletary sounds like he will play. So, I mean, really, in the end, this just becomes a chess match, right, between Mike McDonald and the Giant offensive coaches. And it's a different animal than facing the Lions. I mean, again, I'm not trying to be a smartass here, but this is not the Lion offense that we saw on Monday night with Daniel Jones and Singletary, especially if Neighbors is going to be out. So I don't see them having anywhere near the success that Detroit did. But really the problem, I think, for the Giants is going to be that Seahawks offense. I mean, man, the Seahawks offense was actually humming on all cylinders, and they just could not finish drives. DK Metcalf had a crucial fumble that led to a long return by the Lion defense that set up an easy touchdown for Detroit. They had a 2-point conversion that should have been good, but was ruled no good by the referees who messed up big time in that game on Monday. Their 4th down offense wasn't great. They were chucking the ball all over the field. Kenny Walker was unstoppable in the second half of that game against the Lions. So my biggest concerns for the Giants would be stopping Geno Smith and that Seahawks offense, not whether or not they can put points up on that Seahawks defense.
Okay, so let's go big picture, Softy. I've only seen one Seahawks game this year, and that was the game against Detroit. You've seen them for 4 games. How different personality-wise is this Seattle team from the one that Pete Carroll had for so long?
Ryan Grubb is doing a phenomenal job of getting their playmakers involved, which Shane Waldron never did, and that's why he's no longer here, and that's why Seahawks fans couldn't stand the guy. DK Metcalf is on pace for like 160 targets, which would be a career high for him by far. They're getting their horses the football. Geno Smith is going to make a lot of money playing for Ryan Grubb, the new coordinator. DK Metcalf is likely going to have a new deal when the year's over as well. He's going to make a lot of money playing for Ryan Grubb. And here's the thing, Paul, about it. They're moving the ball, and their offensive line isn't really even ready yet. They were supposed to have Abe Lucas at right tackle. Then they went out and got George Finn. You know him from his days with the Jets. He's banged up. They're on their 3rd-string right tackle right now in Stone Forsythe, and you can argue their 2nd-string right guard in Anthony Bradford. You know what they did over the offseason, Paul? They went out and got an old man in Laken Tomlinson to start at left guard, and they just went out and signed another senior citizen in Jason Peters to be on their practice squad because their offensive line is so bad. So their offensive line is nowhere near close to the line that we thought it was going to be, and they're still putting up big-time points and yards against that good Lion defense on Monday night.
Well, there's no question that Geno Smith has been very accurate. He's had a couple of really excellent seasons, turned his entire career around in Seattle. But now this Giants pass rush, which has been a tad inconsistent in the first month, when they're getting after it, they can cause a lot of pressure for this offensive line that you're talking about in Seattle.
Yeah, I think that Ryan Grubb, though, is a superior offensive coordinator. I'm really curious to see how that chess match goes again this weekend against the Giants, because they got weapons. They can get rid of the ball fast. They can get rid of the ball to Kenny Walker in the flat. They can get rid of the ball to Jackson Smith and Jigba on a short, quick inside slant route, sideline patterns to DK Metcalf. If you go back, Paul, with all the extra time this week that you got right before the game on Sunday, go back and watch every play of Washington's season a year ago. I'm not talking Commanders. I'm talking the Huskies in college football, and what Ryan Grubb did with Michael Penix and Roma Dunze and Jalen McMillan and Jalen Polk and all those guys, man. They were throwing the ball on 3rd and inches, 4th and 1 to get conversions to the sideline. They would use that to replace the running game. So you don't know what's coming with the Seahawks offense. So I think it's absolutely, for me, the biggest matchup of this game on Sunday. Never mind the banged-up offense. I think they'll be okay against Daniel Jones. Unless Daniel Jones turns into Peyton frickin' Manning on Sunday, they should be fine. The matchup, to me, to watch is the Seahawks offense against that Giant front seven.
I have always been impressed with Kenneth Walker since he came out from the draft. For some reason, he doesn't seem to get enough respect around this league. Tell me what you see in this guy, because I see an awful lot.
Well, the reason why he doesn't get respect is because he's been banged up. I mean, that simply put has been the problem. The guy's played 2 games this year, okay? He's played in 2 games this season. He's averaging almost 6 yards a carry with 4 touchdowns in 2 games, but he just can't stay healthy. He didn't stay healthy this year with the oblique and didn't stay healthy a year ago. So you want to be considered to be amongst the best running backs in the NFL, you got to be available, Paul. I mean, you know that. I mean, look, Rashad Penny, when he was here, the former first-round draft pick from San Diego State, when he played, he was fine. But he never played because he was always friggin' hurt. So this is the issue with Kenny Walker. When he's on, he is phenomenal, not just as a running back, but also as a pass catcher. So if he can stay healthy, I think you're going to hear the name Kenny Walker mentioned by a lot more people around the NFL.
All right, so knowing the way that this game shapes up matchup-wise, Seattle offense against Giants defense, I'm sensing you're looking at a lot of quick game, getting the ball out of Geno's hands as fast as possible, and then mixing in Walker to keep the Giants honest.
Well, I just think that they like to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers and let them run. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba after the catch, DK Metcalf after the catch, Kenny Walker in the flat after the catch. These are good athletes. I mean, they've got as good a skill player group as any team, I think, right now in the NFL. I mean, they may not have, overall, like let's say what the Bengals have, for example, but the Chiefs don't have a lot right now around Mahomes. The Bills are looking for talent for Josh Allen, obviously. I think these guys are as good and deep at wide receiver as they've been in a long, long time in Seattle. Then you throw in a guy like Kenny Walker, you throw in a guy like Noah Fant, who I think is going to have a hell of a year with Ryan Grubb as his offensive coordinator. And I just think there's too many weapons from 53 yards from one side or the other for teams to keep an eye on everybody. So I would just expect that to be their game plan. Come out with that quick game, get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and then when the Giant defense gets sucked in, Paulie, that's when you, boom, hit him over the top with DK Metcalf on a post route and let the man go to work.
Yeah, Metcalf is just an incredible force. Even Brian Daboll said this week, when you try to do scout team stuff, you got nobody who can impersonate Metcalf. The guy's just an impossible beast.
Well, nobody looks like him, right? I mean, just look at the guy. He's an absolute specimen. You would need to have 3 giant corners standing on top of each other to be able to replicate what DK Metcalf even looks like on the field of play. And his problem overall in Seattle so far has been his attitude. He gets called for some personal fouls. He gets emotional. He lets his emotions get the best of him. He's got the dropsies. He had the fumble on Monday night against the Lions. They're trying to clean some of that stuff up. If this guy can just harness his own emotions, man, he can be a special, special player. And like we said, he's got 2 years left on his contract. They're going to want to probably re-sign him when the year's over. So this is a guy that's playing for a new deal, which means an inspired DK Metcalf the entire year.
All right, final question, Softy. It's always been one of the positives coming out of Seattle, special teams. Are we still seeing high-quality special teams out of that club with the new coaching change?
Yeah, Jason Myers is a guy that nobody really talks about a lot, and that's a good thing from your kicker, right? And then Michael Dixon, we call him Big Balls Dixon. Michael Dixon has been phenomenal as the punter for this football team. Look, nobody's really doing much in the return game, it feels like, anymore, Paul, in the NFL, with all these wacky new rules. But yet, from a kicking perspective, excuse me, you got to edit that sneeze out there. From a kicking perspective, they have been just as solid as any team in the National Football League. So I don't think a lot of people expect the Hawks to make a lot of mistakes in that regard.
All right, that's Softy Mahler of KJR Radio in Seattle. As always, Softy, great to talk to you. And look, just keep yourself healthy, okay?
Yeah, hey, listen, we'll see you on Sunday, and we'll have you on the air with us tomorrow. So be ready to come on the show with us and talk some smack, because Seahawks fans are waiting for you, Paul.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
The Giants Huddle podcast is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. Citizens will donate $750 to the Giants Foundation for each scoring drive during the 2024 season. Learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants. We thank Softy. Good information from him. Thank you for Paul for stepping in and doing that for me. Now let's wrap the show like you always do. Our very own Bob Papa had a chance to talk to the Giants head coach, Brian Daboll.
As always, we're joined by the head coach of the New York Football Giants, Brian Daboll. Today, the Giants are in Seattle to take on the Seahawks. And, Coach, I know from a running back standpoint, Devin Singletary's been a little bit banged up. I want to ask you about Tyrone Tracy and sort of his maturation into understanding this offense from what you've seen, during camp to where he is now as a player.
Yeah, I think he's improved since he's gotten here. He's still a young player, former receiver that was productive in college, and he has the right kind of mindset. Still young, but growing each week, and expect him to do good things.
Coach, there's been a lot of things that are very positive, right, about what you've done offensively as far as moving the ball. I know getting the ball in the end zone is the number one priority, but what are some of the positive messaging that you gave your team when they came back to work, coming off that tough loss a week ago this past Thursday?
Yeah, we really talked about some of the things we can improve on. The run game, it's just a play here, a block, a missed tackle, a forced block. We certainly can tighten that up. We had 2 good games down in the red zone, and then 2 games where, it wasn't where we needed it to be. I think that the pass game has improved, the ability to break tackles and make yards after the catch, not going backwards in terms of sacks and negative plays. So, if we can stay on track and finish in the red zone or finish outside the red zone, there's some opportunities we've had there that we need to capitalize on.
Let's talk a little bit about this team that you're playing today, the Seattle Seahawks. They recorded 14 sacks this year. They only have 2 interceptions so far. But when you look at them defensively, I mean, for years, right, it's been Pete Carroll coach team, Pete Carroll coach style. How different are they than they have been in the past, if they're that much different than they were?
Yeah, Coach McDonald's a good coach. He's productive, at Baltimore when he was at Michigan. And, they have the certain style that they play with, an identity in terms of aggressiveness to the ball. And, they were down some players last week, and we'll see if they get those guys back. But, they got good players, and Coach McDonald does a good job of putting them in places to be successful.
Let's, on the other side of the ball, when you take a look at, what Geno Smith has been able to do. Now, the touchdown numbers, I mean, his touchdown-to-interception ratio is not great so far this year, but 72% completion, and they can be explosive at times, can't they, as far as this passing game is concerned?
Yeah, well, I think they have outstanding weapons around Geno, and Geno really looks comfortable in Coach Grubb's offense. There's some stuff that obviously he's done at Washington, some up-tempo things, some unique shifts. And then you put the players in it. Lockett, Worth Lockett when he came out as a rookie a while back, and have a tremendous amount of respect for him and everything he's achieved in his career. DK is just a phenomenal player. He's big, he's strong, he's explosive. If it's one-on-one, it's usually going to go up to him, and he makes a bunch of plays doing that. And then Jackson Smith Najigba, did a lot of work on him last year. Very instinctive player. They use him in the slot most of the time. He's got a great feel for, creating separation in the interior part of the field and understanding when it's zone. And then when you add, Kenneth Walker to the mix and Charbonnet, but just to speak on Kenneth Walker, what he did at Michigan State that year and what he's doing in the league, I think he's one of the better backs in the league. He's a very hard guy to tackle. He has elusiveness, quickness. He's explosive, and he's got great power and vision, balanced body control. It's a very, very good skill group around Geno, one of the better in the league.
Yeah, when you take a look at Walker, I mean, he plays like a power back, but he also has elusiveness of a more traditional halfback. Is that a fair way of describing him?
Yeah, I think he's a total package. He's one heck of a running back. He's a fun guy to watch, just because of his skill set and all the things that he can do. He can, cut it back on a dime. He's got great vision. But like you said, he's powerful. He's strong lower body. He's hard to bring down. That's one of the reasons why they're second in the league in terms of breaking tackles.
And using Charbonnet in the passing game like they do. And then you can't forget about Noah Fant. I mean, only 11 catches this year, but it feels like he makes catches at important points in the game.
Yeah, fast. Another guy that worked out when he was coming out. He's got a great skill set. He's got very good straight line speed, and like you said, he'll make plays down there in the seams and crossing routes, and a big body who can run and makes opportunistic plays.
Back to your football team. Obviously, during the course of the week, Malik Neighbors not able to play, still in the concussion protocol. So you gave other people got chances. How's the guys responded to the chances that they've gotten this week in practice, and as far as what they're going to have to do in this football game at the wide receiver position? Yeah, good. I mean, you get some more reps in practice.
Jalen's been taking reps, I'd say, throughout. I mean, obviously in training camp and throughout the weeks of leading up to games. So he's gotten a little bit more, and he's dialed in and he's ready to go.
This isn't your first rodeo. I mean, you've played big games in Kansas City, which is a loud stadium. When you were in Buffalo, it gets loud. There's a lot of loud stadiums, but Seattle seems to have kind of a unique setting to it. I don't know if it's the design of the stadium or whatever it is. What kind of things do you do to try to prepare for it?
You just make it as loud as you can during practice for the offense. It's challenging. The communication will be an important factor in this game. Particularly up front with identification or communication that changes plays. Everybody's got to be dialed in. Hand signals. It's a tough place to play, and we've practiced as hard as we can in getting prepared for it.
I'll go Captain Obvious here on you. Getting off to a quick start, trying to take the crowd out of the game, hold on to the football, get points on the board, get some defensive stops early. That's the recipe, isn't it, though?
Yeah, no question. I mean, playing well. That's more important than anything is, executing your assignment and making the play when your number's called. Again, staying on track is critical so you don't get into those situations where, the crowd amps up. They know it's an obvious passing situation, skipping third downs, forcing them into, some bad plays on the offensive side of the football, taking the ball away, protecting the ball, all the key elements that usually take place in a game.
Coach, we appreciate a couple minutes. Best of luck.
Thanks, Pop.
We thank Brian Daboll and Bob Papa, Paul Dottino and Softy Mahler, and, of course, Darius Slayton for joining us on this week's episode of the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. Remember, this is exclusively on podcast platforms, so subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next time, everybody.